So the problem that we're going to work on today is how to reverse a string recursively. What are the two parts of recursion? Yeah.
The base case and the recursive case?
Yeah, so the base case and the recursive case. And what are each of those?
The base case is the simplest case.
Okay, and then what's the recursive case? Yep.
And the recursive case is where it calls itself.
Yep. So now for this problem, let's think about what the base case is.
It's the empty string is the simplest string you could reverse.
Yeah, so we could say the empty string. Any other ideas?
What about a string with only one letter?
Wait, can you have two base cases?
Can we have two base cases? What do people think?
I mean, I think we can have more than one base case because we had the Fibonacci example last week, and I had two base cases.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good point because there may be more than one base case to cover all the cases.
Yeah, so we've seen problems before with multiple base cases, so Fibonacci was a great example. So let's try this problem with two base cases, and if we decide later to change it, we can come back and do that. But let's start with two. So we're saying that our two base cases are the empty string and a string with one letter. For the empty string, what would be our return value if that was our input?
I think it would return an empty string.
Yeah, so this one will return an empty string, and then what about a string with one letter?
It would return just that single letter.
Yeah, so return the same thing, right? All right, so then that covers our base case. What is our recursive case? Turn to somebody near you and you guys talk about what you think the recursive case might be, and then we'll come back together.
So basically,
So the recursive case,
a string
I
smaller
think
at a time.
you want to be the minimal
remove a letter
amount of work.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
two marks.
if you, the base case
So
is,
maybe let's get rid of like take the first
Yeah,
letter
it's
off.
definitely
and
not
then
this would be a
Kind of
string
like-
that have length.
recur
We want to
to
change one
the
letter each
rest of the
time,
letter.
or we want to make the string
So what do you
shorter.
think that's not the
We
base case?
therefore have to find
Yeah, I
a
think
way to
so.
take out a letter
And
each
then-
time.
Are there
I'm
any
not sure how you
ones
do
that
Yeah,
that.
like
are
cat.
the base case or the recursive?
Yeah,
I guess like
Maybe we have a
maybe
break
like a
case.
function. and we
See,
could-
A break case.
A break case.
That does
where
that,
we're
I'm not
like,
sure.
okay,
have
this
a,
program stops.
you'd have AT left.
I mean, as long as
It's
it's a
definitely
string.
like-
Okay, so let's come back together.
What if it's not?
What did people discuss?
So we weren't sure, but we know that you would have to recall the function each time on a shorter string. So we're thinking maybe you remove the first letter each time, but that's where we got stuck.
Yeah, we were thinking the same thing as them, where you take off the first letter, and then you would recur on like everything else of the string.
Okay, so these ideas could work. Let's try it with an example. So if our string was cat, C-A-T, how would we apply what we're saying to this string? What would we do?
So we separate the C from the rest of the word and then recurse on function on AT.
Okay, so we would separate the C and then recall the reverse function on AT. What would we get if we call reverse on AT?
We get TA, but we can't do that, can we?
Yeah, we can. So we're writing a reverse function, and if we give it a string, it'll reverse our string for us.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand.
Can you tell me what you're not sure about? What don't you understand?
Okay, so I get that we'd have AT left over after we get rid of the C.
Okay.
But how does AT just get reversed to TA?
Yeah. Can someone help with this question?
Yeah, so we haven't written the recursive function yet, but we know that when it does work, what it would do is it would take a string and then reverse it, right? So say we give it cat, it should return a string reverse, so TAC. And we could give it like a shorter one, like AT, and it should still return the reverse of it, which is TA.
Okay.
So now we're trying to figure out the recursive case. Like, how would we go from CAT to TAC? And we're just saying that we can if we figure out that last step, how we do that, then we can trust that the function will just call itself and it would just do the work for us and reverse the string.
Okay. So the reverse function is that we take the first letter, reverse the rest.
Yep. So let's write that down. So say that one more time.
Okay. So the reverse function is take the first letter and reverse the rest.
So take the first letter, reverse the rest.
But then what do we do with the first letter?
Yeah, that's a good question. What do we do with this first letter? How do we get this C into our reverse string?
I'm thinking we want to put it at the end.
Okay. Yeah, so that could work. So if we put it at the end, that would take our CAT. We've separated the first letter. We have AT. We reverse it, and we move C to the end. That gives us our reverse string.
So a recursive function is take the first letter,
Mhm.
reverse the rest, put the first letter at the end.
And put the first letter at the end. Yep. So that covers our recursive case. Now we want to write it in code. Who can help me with that? Where will we start?
Well, if S is empty,
Yeah, so reverse on string S.
yeah. So if S is empty, you just want to return S.
Okay, so we can just write it in English for now. So if S is empty, we want to return S.
Yeah.
Okay,
Else if S has one letter, then return S.
okay.
Wait, can we put those two together? So like, if S is empty or has one letter.
Okay,
Then
yeah,
return
we can update this. Let's see. So if S is empty, or say it one more time, or what?
Or has one letter,
Or S has one letter,
then return S.
then return S.
Yeah, both
Yeah.
case cases.
So that covers both of our base cases. Now,
Yes.
how about the recursive case?
Is that what's in our else?
Yeah, so that'll be in our else.
Take off the first letter.
Okay, so how do we do that? Can you say more about that?
You could just say I equals first letter of the string S.
Okay, so we can just store it somewhere. So I equals the first letter of S.
Yeah, then put the first letter at the end of the string.
Well, we need to reverse it first, right? The rest of it.
So when we call that reverse function, remember that it's going to return a string. So we want to be able to keep track of the value that it returns. How can we do that?
Well, I think we could have something like R equals reverse rest of S.
Okay, and then that will let us keep track of the reverse string. So R equals the reverse of the rest of S. And we can even maybe write this like a method. So rest of S. And we can come back later. We know how to like take a substring if we don't have the first letter. We know how to do that. So I is the first letter of S. R is the reverse of the rest of S. Now what do we do? Well, here are our steps from before.
Just return R plus I.
Okay. So return R, that's our reverse, and then plus I puts our first letter at the end. Yeah. What do we think about this code? Does this match what we came up with before?
Looks like it.
Okay, so now let's test it. We need a word. What's someone's favorite word?
Oh, taco.
Taco. Okay, you're gonna use the word taco. So that's a fun word. So let's run through our code with this word and just test it. So we're gonna reverse taco. Is S empty or does it have one letter? So this is S.
No.
No. So what do we do?
Go ahead.
Oh, so you take the first letter, which is T,
Okay.
assign it to I, because that's what we said.
Yep.
And then R can be the rest of taco, which is ACO. But oh, it's the reverse of ACO.
So yeah, so we want to say, let's store the rest of S. So the rest, in this case, you're saying is ACO, and then R will be the reverse of this, right? So, but we don't know yet how to reverse it, or we haven't reversed it yet. So we have to go through the step again, right? So now in this case, S will be ACO. So now if this is our string, so this is our recursive call, let's go back up here.
So it's still not empty, and it's not just one letter. So you're in else.
Yep.
So I equals A.
I equals A.
Rest is CO.
Mm-hmm.
And then we still don't know what R is yet.
Right, so we don't know what R is yet, but we're gonna call the reverse on the rest of us, right? So, and then we can go up here. So now S equals CO. Who can walk me through this one?
We keep on going because it's more than one letter long.
Exactly, so we skip the base case.
I would be equal to C,
I is C,
and then rest would be O.
the rest is O.
And then we need to figure out what R is again.
And so we still need to figure out R. So we're gonna call reverse on O. So now our S is O. Now what happens?
Base case.
Base case, yes. Which part of the base case do we hit?
Where it says S has one letter.
Exactly. So now what do?
We just return it.
So in this case, we're gonna return O. So this R was the reverse of the rest of S, which is now O. So this is O. And now this, remember we're gonna return R plus I, right? So we're gonna return O and then C.
So that means the next R is OC.
Is OC, exactly. So now what does this one return?
R
OC.
plus I.
Oh, was that-
Right, so it returns R plus I, which would be what?
OCA.
OCA. Yeah. Now what happens?
Bump that up.
Bump it up, yeah.
R equals OCA plus I.